Well, if that looked like a lot, it's because it is. That's what it takes just to load the CO2. And this is the Umarex Fusion in 177. That was a lot. A lot of you that had followed my channel in the past or had seen some of the air gun things I did for a while, air guns are just super annoying to me because there's so many variables and they tend to break a lot and not super consistent. But I want to mess around a little bit with this one, the CO2 rifle. Let me show you some of the results that I got with this. So starting it off, I'm just shooting at 25 yards. And a lot of people would say that's like the max effective distance for a rifle like this, and maybe they're right. I tend to stretch things out a little further, and I kind of like seeing what the max capabilities are of any particular system. That's the way I have fun with it anyways. I did add on here the UTG 360, the tall version, go up to like 11 inches or something like that. It's got an SWFA fixed 10 on it, and really other than that I have some converters under here so that I can get to Picatinny, but it's a pretty low sitting platform, or a low sitting optic on the platform, and I kind of like that. So here's what I'm going to be shooting. These are just those Crosman, what do they call them? Competition flatheads, you know. They're not really stellar in any gun I've ever shot, but they're what I have a lot of, and I want to give you a good idea of just how average this gun is. Because unfortunately, this is the pellet that it probably shoots the best. Now it's 90 degrees and it's humid out, by the way, so data is probably a little off. Shooting at a 1/4 inch size dot. Typically with CO2, you kind of want to wait a little bit in between shots. You don't want to race through them. All right, so here's what we got. The top one was my first group. There's 5 there, and then bottom group 5 there. Really stringy, not the best groups, and I know temperature-wise that affects this quite a bit with the CO2 rifles, but I just have not been impressed with the accuracy. I've shot all the specified recommended rounds for it in the 8 grain region. I've tried so many different ones, and I just don't get good results. And so maybe I have a kind of a bad rifle, but I think this is just about as good as it does on any given day. I mean, I've had groups where I've gotten 4 in the hole and then 1 over here. And that's, you know, that happens sometimes, but more characteristically, this is what I'm seeing. Not really impressive at 25 yards. All right, so if you've been watching my channel for a while now, you know I don't care so much about close range groups, and some of that is useful when I'm limited to space. That thing don't like me. When I'm limited to space, it can be a good practice, even if the rifle isn't that precisely built, just to test how accurate I am. So that's kind of what the use of that is. I set a target up at 100. Let's just see what the rifle can do for the heck of it. It's died off right at the moment, but it's about a 5 to 7 mile an hour wind. When a rifle is shooting at 700 feet per second, it affects it. That's a really light projectile at a long ways. That's subjected to a lot of wind time. So let's see what we get. get up to 100 yards. It was 15 mils, by the way. Let's just hold. Alright, so here's one of the annoying things about the rifle. Went to throw in a pellet, and you have to pretty much hand assist every pellet going in because the loading ramp is worthless, basically. And so you oftentimes get a pellet that gets stuck in there just about backwards, and you gotta find a way to pull it out. So all that just to get one in there. And I can hear it, hopefully you can hear it hitting inside of the bullet catch. But I don't think I am breaking paper even. I got a little pressure left here. Probably enough for 5 more decent shots. I'm gonna take those shots here at 25 again, and we'll wrap up the review and talk about it, and I'll show you my 100-yard target. Alright, so I said I would talk about the 100-yard target. So here's what we got. One hit up here where it was clipped, it was a little more rigid, and then down here, it literally just moved the paper. I can see little marks and striations in the cardboard, some lead imprint on there, and so clearly didn't have enough power. Maybe if I had affixed it to the bottom, it would punch through like it did up here because the cardboard was more rigid or something, but either way, if I was shooting on steel only, I think I could still hear it well enough. It seemed like that today. It's pretty quiet though. So ultimately, not the best accuracy though. I can see where these hits are, and I've had groups at 80 yards on a pretty windless day of 1 inch. That's been my best groups at 80 yards is about 1 inch, and I'm just not seeing it today. The wind doesn't really help. I shot at 25 yards again. And so let's see, that was this group here, which measures, it's probably about a 3/4 inch, or no, that's a 1/2 inch group, yeah, for sure. That's a 1/2 inch group, that's a 1/2 inch group. So for 25 yards, for some folks, this rifle is really gonna do it. For me, at 25 yards, those should all be in the same hole. Really, this rifle, I actually got it for 89 bucks. And so it was pretty cheap, it was new. It comes with a different optic, and I'm going to show you a close-up and go over a couple things real quick. But I'm just going to say the accuracy just isn't there for me. There's such inconsistency. I started off being over here, I adjusted, I wound up here, and my point of impact just randomly starts to go different places. It's not parallax, because I'm good with checking parallax, and it's not trigger pull and things like that. I'll get into that a little bit later. But it does seem to have this strange change of impact, and of course as pressure changes in there and you start to lose pressure, which is around 40 shots, 50 shots maybe different on a humid day, you're going to see a lot of vertical stringing that's pretty bad. So you kind of have to know the rifle extremely well to keep up that vertical stringing. So let's talk about some more specifics, and I'll give you an up close of the rifle. Okay, so again, oh man, the flies are terrible in here now. Shouldn't have opened that door. So here's kind of what I got. The rifle, like I said, comes with, I think it's a 3-9 scope, or a 1-6, whatever it was so crappy that I didn't care to keep it. And actually no, it was a fixed 4-power scope. That's what it came with. One of those kind of classic Crosman looking scopes. Not worth keeping, took it off. It held at 0 okay. This isn't the kind of rifle that's going to shift your reticle or something like that. There's almost no recoil to the rifle whatsoever. So that scope would have been safe. It just was like looking through a dirty glass. Seriously, like it's junk, and it's fixed parallax at probably an unreasonable distance for what you're going to use this for. And so I upgraded. I went with just some really those cheapy UTG like $50 rings, and you know, they're 30 millimeter. I threw on the bubble level, and this SWFA 10X, which is a mil scope, fixed reticle in the second focal plane. And then I wanted to be able to shoot this off a ruck or a rest or the bipod, and so I inserted some Picatinny in here, glued that on, screwed it in, and that actually was pretty successful. There's a flat enough portion here for you to insert that, and threw on the big UTG 360 bipod that has the cant in it in 3 directions. And then I threw on a Gamma buddy sling, because that's pretty much the only thing I was willing to waste on this rifle. The things that I like about it, let's just start with the things I like about it before I get too harsh here. The things that I like about it, well, the trigger could definitely be worse. It's a 3.5 pound trigger, and 3.5 pounds is heavy compared to a lot of precision guns. You know, they're gonna run at least 2 pounds. And so at first I didn't love it, but it's like kind of a 2-stage deal. So I will run this with no pellet in it real quick for you. When you pull the trigger, the first thing you're going to get, if I can do it backwards, you're going to get a lot of slack. There's an automatic safety, by the way. I hate those. People treat you like you're an idiot. You need an automatic safety, and you don't need that. So you're going to get a lot of creep right off the bat. So creep, 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 lots of creep, and then you're going to feel the weight. And from there, you're going to creep through the wall, like that. And the trigger could be worse. I'll just say that. I generally am okay with it. I like it well enough. The other thing I like about it, I guess, is the size and the weight. It's really, really lightweight. If I didn't have this monster scope on here right now, this thing would weigh nothing. It's pretty awesome. The shape of it is good. The shot count is just fine for me. I don't care. I suppose 50 is well enough. Jeez. Unreal. The deer flies are just nuts right now. They'll kill you. Send you to deer fly hell. Got him. I'm more accurate than this rifle is. Okay. Anyways, another great thing about this, even if the barrel quality maybe isn't the greatest, or there's something here that doesn't work the best, the quietness of this rifle, the loudness of this rifle, lack of it, is fantastic. This rifle is really stinking quiet. It sounds way louder in the recording than it actually is. So here's like one thing about this rifle. I live in the city. May not look like city to some people, but I live in the city, and so that's not where I'm at right now, but I have to be pretty quiet. Even shooting normal break barrels, I gotta be careful about it, because it might tick off some people who work overnights and stuff like that, sleep during the day. And so I wanted something that was really quiet, and I heard that this was super quiet, and I had seen some people's reviews, like Paul Capella's review, that said it was extremely accurate as well. And you know what, I just didn't find that. So I think I ran out of good things to say about it. At the price of $89, this still wasn't worth it. It retails much higher than that. I know a lot of folks who have paid twice as much for this rifle with the junky optic that it comes with and just some of the unfortunate things. Sorry about that. Flies were so insanely bad, I had to spray some more. So anyways, you're getting the gist of it. I don't need to stretch this out into a longer review because you understand. I just don't think this rifle has what it takes to even be the $89 rifle. I have shot many CO2 rifles that I thought were more useful in their niche than this is. This is supposed to be an accurate rifle and precisely built rifle, and I think it's hard to be accurate with, actually. It's not as hard as a lot of break barrels, and a lot of people will argue, I'm sure, in the comments about their great results and things like that. I'm just saying, this one must be a dud. I'm a 1/4 inch shooter, not just at 25 yards, at 100 yards with my other rifles. I think I understand the fundamentals basically well. I've shot over 3,000 pellets with it so far, which isn't the most, but it's kind of a lot. That's a lot of CO2. And within 3,000 pellets, these are the kind of results I'm getting from day to day. And like I said, I'll have days where I'll shoot at 25 yards, a little 1/4 inch group. I'll go to 50 yards and shoot a 1/2 inch group, and I'll think it's, you know, fixed or it's great. And then the rest of the shot count for the day is terrible. And so I don't know what to say. There's just some sort of weird inconsistency here. My best results are with a pellet that I really think lowly of. It's a pretty poor pellet most of the time. And the good pellets that I thought for sure would perform admirably, it's just a waste. Absolute waste. The closest is Super Extra Diablo, something like that. I think it's like a 15 or 16 grain pellet, if I remember right. And that did pretty well out to about 50 yards. I just don't see that much purpose for it in being a bipod kind of gun, except for this. It's really easy to hand to someone else and shoot on big targets with. It's quiet, it's not intimidating, it's a great child's rifle. I think that's really what it could probably be, as a child's rifle, if it wasn't for this terrible loading mechanism in here. See if I can focus. Loading this thing in here, you pull this back, the ramp is just poorly built. It's not executed well. They tried to do something ambidextrous here. I understand that, but it did not work out well. And so oftentimes the pellet gets lodged back in here accidentally, and it just sucks. Again, that sound right there is twice as loud to you on the camera, I think, as it is to me here. It would not bother your neighbors. They probably wouldn't even know that you're shooting, really, except for the sound of hitting steel or your target. So I just found another fun thing. The bolt knob is loose. Like the bolt is actually loose in here. It's like it's falling apart. I don't know if I can show you that on camera. So this little unit right here, all of a sudden it's just loose sitting in here. I'm gonna have to take it apart, figure out what the heck is going on with this thing. Jeez, this thing sucks. I'm going to go ahead and say I don't recommend this for anybody, actually. I think your money is better spent elsewhere. Wait till something better comes out. Gosh, I wish I had something good to say about it, but other than the sound and I guess the trigger, there's not much good to say about it. It kind of sucks. Sorry guys, sorry Umarex. I think this is a dud. It's either a dud rifle or the whole concept is a dud, and I've heard some mixed reviews myself, so you're gonna love it or you're gonna hate it. That's what I think. Okay, one more thing. Stop putting dovetail on rifles. Umarex, Gammo, Crosman. I don't want to list all the airgun companies. Stop putting dovetail on rifles. It's ancient, it's poor technology. This one in particular is especially bad because it's the rounded type, not the flat type. Just use Picatinny. Skip the Weaver, go to Picatinny. That's the standard implementation of every other kind of firearm system. Even crossbows use Picatinny. For goodness sake, don't use this crap anymore, please. Gun toting, Minnesotan.